All right, good morning everybody, and welcome to the Atea Action event here, the Spring Forum here in Tallinn. And good morning to this session. My name is Fabian Kienle. I'm responsible for the Eastern European region at Citrix and looking after our distribution and Citrix value-added partners like Atea. And that's what we are going to talk about within these very first 45 minutes is actually still something quite special. If most of you are thinking about Citrix, then they are most likely thinking about the delivery of applications, data, of desktops, meanwhile, VDI, terminal services. And of course, for sure, that's what the key message, the key thing is at Citrix, what we do to deliver applications and resources of any kind over any kind of connection to any client. But what people need to realize actually is that in order to fulfill this centralized approach, this cloud approach, it is important not just to have back-end components that provide these resources and that deliver it to any client. There are technologies in place and are needed to make 100% sure, especially when you deliver things over the internet, that they are really accelerated, that they are available, and that they are secured. So one thing doesn't work without the other. The product at Citrix we are talking about is Citrix NetScaler. And when Citrix went into this hardware business for the first time from our side, back in early 2000, we were considered just to have a solution which is a load balancer, right? And we all know there are many load balancers in the world. But this is actually not the idea that Citrix had when we acquired the company which was called NetScaler. That's why we acquired a technology, a product, which is capable of doing more than just load balancing. Load balancing is important, but we believe it's only one of many things that needs to be done to make sure that applications, data, information, real-time information can flow in real time at maximum security over any kind of connection. That's why the Citrix NetScaler is more than just a typical load balancing platform that you might know from other vendors, meaning our competitor. We started back in the early days where we went into this direction, but then after the acquisition of NetScaler, just to give you an idea what's the idea behind NetScaler with Citrix, we moved quickly into the fact saying, look, load balancing is one thing to make the environment available. But what about security? Citrix acquired a company called Teros, which provided a so-called application firewall, which was added as a feature to the NetScaler appliance technology that was basically intended to be a load balancer. And we moved on with this. With way more technologies, way more scalable technologies, we added more and more and more features, which brings Citrix today into the situation, and that's actually something which is unique at Citrix, that when you are looking into the NetScaler technologies, you get way more than just an appliance for load balancing. You get an appliance that provides offloading technologies to accelerate web-based applications and even virtual desktops or terminal server-based application. You are getting an appliance which is intended to secure your environment against any kind of attacks. And then you might say, yeah, I already have firewalls and things like that. Intrusion detection system that are doing this. An application firewall is not just looking on protocol level, it's looking actually on what's inside the protocol. What is happening inside there? Are there typical attacks because somebody's trying to manipulate my web shop that I'm running, is trying to attack my web shop, tries to take it down, tries to go for SQL injections to manipulate databases behind my web shop maybe. So what Citrix is doing with this kind of approach is making sure that it's accelerated, that it's available, and that it is secured, and to simply make sure that anything that you centrally deliver is securely delivered without compromising key themes like load balancing, global server load balancing, and the entire availability of solutions. That's why the NetScaler today is a multi-purpose appliance, which differentiates Citrix completely from any other vendor that is in this space, because Citrix is the only vendor that can really combine all these features in a single box. We will come to that in a moment, how that looks. This is something that we call at Citrix Tri-Scale. You'll be amazed what that is. So that means actually we have one box that is looking into the classical performance of offloading technologies, making sure that the throughput is accelerated. We are making sure, of course, that it's scalable, making sure that your back-end environment, regardless if it's a web shop, an appearance of a website, if it's something where you earn money with, depending on the availability of your platform, or if it's just internal resources like a Citrix XenApp terminal server or a virtual desktop environment, we make sure that it's perfectly scalable, that it's available, that you can meet SLAs, and of course that we are coming with all the technologies that make sure that everything is quickly done. I'm quite sure anyone in here is already a NetScaler customer. And then you might say, oh wow, I thought I know what I bought and what I didn't. Yes, you are. Because the largest clouds in the world, and there were even customers who started with NetScaler before Citrix made the acquisition, are using Citrix NetScaler on a very broad basis. Google, for instance, Amazon, all these vendors are using on a homogeneous basis, globally 100% NetScaler technologies to simply make sure that your search engine results are quickly delivered. We make sure that when you are searching for something on Google, besides hundreds of millions of other people who are doing that at the same time, that the search results and everything that you do in parallel with others is returned in the same speed like all the others as well. So this is not just about availability, it's about making sure that the resources that you are providing are returned in the same fashion and with the same speed like millions of others as well. So that means all the big names in public clouds, and definitely Google is a public cloud, eBay is a public cloud. Anything that you simply enter without thinking about because it's available, it does the job for you, is something that is running on Citrix. And again, if we go back into your own environments, of course you are not a Google, right? You just want to make sure that your internal systems are available, maybe for users, for contractors, accessing your internal resources, or maybe you are thinking to accelerate and protect your appearance when you sell through the internet, when you have an appearance where you have to make sure that you don't sell anything when your shop is down or your platform is down. This is exactly where we are going to. And the great thing about Citrix NetScaler is that, as already mentioned, it is about the classical themes of a load balancer. It's about availability, global server load balancing, the fact that it scales to several boxes. When one box fails, the other one takes over. The classical themes, offloading technologies that make sure that everything you deliver is delivered with great performance, with caching technologies. And of course, security. As already mentioned, we have integrated in the same box that does all the other jobs our web application firewall that additionally, besides acceleration and availability, protects your entire environment, your data, against any kind of attacks from the outside. And the great thing is, Citrix is offering that for the enterprise data center, for customers like you and me, and of course for those who are simply providing cloud infrastructures. For those who say, I would like to offer desktop as a service. We have, especially here in the Baltics, partners, which I know, for instance, also the big telcos, which are offering Citrix Xen Desktop to as a public cloud, where you can simply get a desktop, a Windows desktop with application on a monthly basis. If you do something like that, if you know there are hundreds of people of lots of Baltic companies which are not having an own infrastructure anymore, but just choosing that from a public cloud, you want to make sure that you, when you don't have an own infrastructure anymore, that you get your desktop and your data anytime you want, perfectly available, and at the same perfect speed. For those kind of public cloud infrastructures, this is also a place where our technology finds its spot and where we are actually very active and successful. However, very important, and this is why our solution is the only real complete solution in this case, is that besides the classical and traditional application delivery controller, which are known in the market, we are simply adding the new requirements. And again, this is something only Citrix can do, because this is a field where we are coming from. This is the traditional market, which you most likely know for years. All of the classical big names are coming from this part. This is commodity. That's nothing new. Citrix is not somebody who invented load balancing or these offloading or other kind of technologies. But what we perfectly do is we are adding the new approaches of desktop delivery, application delivery, and WAN optimization, which is simply required, into a unique box, and providing all of this together in one centralized approach. And this is exactly what we do. Accelerated application delivery. First of all, with a new technology to actually optimize the TCP-based traffic with unique caching technologies, we are making sure that even the hardware footprint in a data center is quite small. So compared to other vendors, you don't need a box for load balancing, one box for an application firewall, one box for something else, where you need lots of space, with lots of boxes, with lots of hardware footprint and electricity and power that you need to actually run all these boxes. The approach of Citrix is, beside the wide range of features, to deliver that all consolidated in a single box, to make sure that the hardware footprint is small, and that whenever you change something, you don't have to exchange your entire infrastructure as well. So actually, the uniqueness of Citrix NetScaler is a combination of merged and consolidated capabilities and the fact that this can be done with a very, very low footprint over here. Offloading technologies, all these classical features are now available in a single box, available for any possible environment that you might want to run. And of course, it accelerates your applications. Most of our customers are not just looking into security. For sure, that's one thing. But the key thing is, especially if you want to deliver things to users, virtual desktops, then we make sure that this can be done with maximum speed. NetScaler is not just a classical web application accelerator. It is optimized for the use of delivering web-based applications, Java-based applications, even Windows-based apps on terminal servers, XNAP, or even VDI over any kind of connection. That's what we do in a Citrix world, and this is what we combine in a single box. That's actually the notion of what we do. And again, this kind of technology, which seems to be in the first place something that doesn't really fit into a Citrix world, or I would even go further, into a VDI world, we believe it perfectly does. This is the world we are coming from, right? Centralized environments with our terminal servers, centralized environment with virtual desktops. Citrix is known for its complete end-to-end user story. We securely deliver all kinds of application desktops securely over any kind of connection. We are optimizing that with boxes like the branch repeater to any client. That's the story, what you know. But what's happening if you need more than that? What's happening if you say, hey, I have my own infrastructure here in on my own premises, but I need additional resources maybe somewhere else. You most likely say, well, my data center is maybe full, and I just need additional capacities. Then this is exactly the time when the NetScaler and the Cloud Bridge actually kicks in. What we're going to do is most of these larger infrastructure as a service provider, like Rackspace, I think the most common one is Amazon Web Services. All these ones are operating with Citrix NetScaler. And what does that mean for you? It perfectly means to you that whenever in your private cloud you need additional capacity because you say, oh damn, we are launching our new website, or we are launching a new shop, and from one week to another I need another 100 web servers in order to cover all of this, or maybe I only need it temporarily. then you don't need to buy all these equipment. You would go to one of these infrastructure as a service provider and say, how much are 100 servers for, let's say, 2, 3, 4, 5 months or whatever period of time? What we actually do is we combine the technology of Cloud Bridge, which is an integral part of our entire product range that we have, making it possible to let the Cloud Bridge talk to our NetScaler appliances, which are a basic part from all of these infrastructure as a service provider. Means the Cloud Bridge is acting like a kind of virtual switch, which immediately enables you to integrate all of these additional infrastructure that you are taking into yours as a virtual outsourced cloud infrastructure. You are simply able to integrate that, and they are obeying to your rules, they are obeying to your load balancing, and they are simply obeying to all these policies that you are setting in your private environment. The Cloud Bridge and the fact that most of the renowned infrastructure as a service providers are using Citrix enables you to easily roll out your environment or include the outsourced environment into yours. And this is something which is very unique and is an option for all those who do not have endless space or simply say, most of the services I have in future, I don't want to host in my own environment, I would like to have it outsourced. The Citrix NetScaler technology enables you to do so because of the infrastructure providers are already using Citrix NetScaler, which eases this process for you. And again, application availability is one thing. That's basically what it is all about. And I'm not telling you here any super new stories to things which are already known. Of course, a key component, of course, is load balancing. What is so special about the load balancing that we are providing, or the global server load balancing capability? Well, it is perfectly integrated with our VDI and terminal server environments. In other words, you will not find any other better solution that perfectly works with an existing VDI or terminal server environment. Especially when you're working with people or having your people working in different locations all over the Baltics or even outside. Regardless how many users you have, if you know you're going to lose money when your site, when your resources are not available anymore, or other way around, if you can determine how much money you lose by the hour for every hour your environment is not available, then you might want to look into a solution that helps you to protect the availability, meaning if you have data centers all over the place with global server load balancing, we are simply making sure that there's always a way to connect even if one site is down. That's actually what we do. So the classical layer 4 to layer 7 load balancing is one integral part. Maintaining user sessions. So all the classical things that you know from a load balancing solution, of course, is something that Citrix is providing since 2002 with its NetScaler products. But now is coming something into play, which is again one of those approaches you can only provide as a vendor if you have a fully integrated solution. In this load balancing way, in this load balancing world, as I already said, we have many vendors, right? And Citrix wasn't even the first one providing application firewalls or load balancing scenarios. If you look at our competitors, they might have almost, I would say almost, definitely not for sure everything, they would also have a lot of these capabilities that we are providing. But there are huge differences. The difference simply is that we are way more centralized and cloud approach here. And how does that look like? We want to make sure if you need features, we don't want you to buy more and more boxes and more packages that fill up your data center. That's why Citrix invented TriScale. And that's actually a super cool thing, which is definitely something you won't find anywhere else. TriScale symbolizes the 3 branches: scale up, scale in, scale out. What does that mean? Well, first of all, the entire code, that's what I already mentioned, load balancing, performance, security, all the features, the capabilities of our product are the same regardless which box you buy at Citrix. That's a great thing, because it means whenever you say, well, my box is performant enough, I have maybe 200, 300, 400 users. If my requirements are changing, but not your number of users, because you say, I still have the same amount of users, but now I'm interested in a web application firewall, now I'm interested in something else, it doesn't force you, like at our competition, to buy more and more boxes for the more and more features you need. At Citrix, a license key is activating on the same box the rest of the features. That means you're never forced to buy more and more hardware because you want to have software features. Software is the same on any box, regardless if you buy the smallest box from NetScaler or the very biggest one. The feature set is always the same, which allows you to reduce the footprint. So, scaling up means we are simply way more flexible and saving your money through a thing we call pay as you grow. This is exactly what I just described. Pay as you grow means I buy the hardware I need for the users and the resources that I have and need to provide. And whenever you grow, meaning whenever you need higher requirements, when you have higher requirements, when you need more features, you can keep your hardware. Just a new license key is activating the features that you would like to add. That's what we call pay as you grow. Another thing is, what's happening when your environment is really growing? I mean, like, really going through the roof. Today you have maybe 200 users. Maybe it's not just your users, maybe it is your customers. Maybe you today have like 200, and then maybe the next year 5,000 or even 10,000 or even more. How can we cope with this? What's happening if not just the features are growing? What's happening if the throughput is growing? The access to your environment or to your cloud platforms are growing. Scale in means, and this is actually super cool, the so-called SDX appliances from Citrix are not just an appliance that you might know from other vendors. SDX means we are carrying virtual instances up to 40 on one physical box. Think of it like running 40 virtual machines and 40 virtual instances of a NetScaler on one physical NetScaler box. This is of course supposed to be for cloud providers that maybe are looking into multi-tenancy environments. But however, even if you provide this for your own users only, this is a perfect way to consolidate rack space. Whenever you think you need more because the requirements on your environment, on your department is getting bigger, Citrix can grow with you without extending the hardware and the carbon footprint. We are allowing you to have more than 40 virtual instances here, and even if this model doesn't scale enough, with scale out, you'll be simply able to multiply this approach into several others. In other words, before we tell you, hey, yeah, buy another box, and another box, and another box, and another box, we have two scenarios in between before that will help you to keep the hardware investment to a minimum. Of course, scale out then. If this one is still not enough, then you still go into the way like that you need more boxes. But I truly believe that most of you sitting in here are never going through this part. Most of them are definitely and perfectly covered with these first both option from this tri-scale capability that Citrix provides. And that is definitely something you won't find at any of our competitors. So we are not just looking for great features and capabilities. We also want to make sure that you have a perfect integration into your existing Citrix environment, for sure. And of course, that you're looking into something which helps you save operational cost, electricity, power, rack space, data center space. That's exactly what we're looking at. And whenever you need to switch, we can do that without requiring new hardware. Here, once again, a short overview on that, what I'm talking about here. Our MPX boxes, as I already said, we are covering the same capabilities on each box. All you simply do is you choose the hardware that you need physically for the number of users that you're providing, and the feature set is the same, regardless if you have the virtual appliance of NetScaler or if you even go up to the data center editions with up to 50 gigabit of traffic in this case, the feature set of our products are unique and the same. So you're never missing anything, regardless from what you do. Citrix is very successful with this approach, especially in our existing customer base, where you securely need to deliver and make available Citrix Xen Desktop and XenApp environments. But even nonetheless, even if you say, no, it's not about my own environment, I want my platform to be performant for my customers, for your customers, then the Citrix NetScaler is a perfect way to combine acceleration, speed, and security with a minimum effort of hardware investment here. And even here, Citrix is open compared to all of our competitors here. Citrix is offering the NetScaler technologies in classically two flavors. The MPX and SDX part is actually physical hardware, that's the physical boxes. The Citrix VPX is the virtual appliance. It's a hardened virtual machine, again with the same feature set and the same capabilities, no difference. What we are offering here is actually to run our virtual appliances on the major hypervisor technologies that are available. So even here, we're simply gonna leave you the choice. This is a perfect entry-level solution to use our technologies in advance, and whenever the requirements are changing, you're migrating your entire environment simply to a new box. And you know what's even cooler here? It's working a little bit like iCloud. Let's say you start with a VPX. You make your configurations, you make your settings, everything is working perfect, and then you suddenly realize, oh, the virtual appliance is not enough. I now go physical because I have more users, I have more requirements. What we're going to do is you can centrally store the entire configuration of your web application file, of anything that you have, and simply move the configuration on any other bigger file. So even the migration is a piece of cake because you don't have to do anything manually again. You just move from one box or from one source to another, taking your configuration with you. Scale in, as already mentioned. Consolidation, as already mentioned in the beginning. What we are able to do here with NetScaler SDX is to simply run up to 40 instances in virtual machines on one box, which simply helps you in many, many ways, regardless if it's internal or regardless if you want to provide that as a cloud provider to your own customers. It's a perfect way to run 40 different environments on one box for multi-tenant environments. And even here, it allows you to separately work and run 40 instances on one single box. Absolutely perfect. The only thing that you would need is physical redundancy with the second box, but just imagine on what we can do over here. And another thing is unique and differentiates Citrix from any other vendors. The importance of all these vendors to Citrix is getting bigger and bigger. And that means, especially when you have security solutions from Trend Micro, antivirus solutions, when you do big data analysis with Splunk, we believe that is something that you need. And when you do so, we thought, how can we optimize the use of our products with those of the other vendors that you might want to use? And now comes the cool thing. We are able to integrate these products in a virtual instance on our SDX. So here we are also reducing the hardware footprint. We are officially certified with these third-party vendors from our perspective and integrate their environments into virtual machines running on the SDX platform, which enables us for the very first time to really consolidate everything to a minimum. Not just our own instances of NetScaler, but also to include all of these other services onto the same box. Also something that only Citrix provides, and make sure that we really run everything very efficiently. And again, the traditional application delivery deployment was on a classical active-passive thing, right? One thing perfectly running, and this one only takes over in case of a failure of the first one. Super cost intensive because you had two boxes, but only using one of it, and of course, quite limited in scalability. The way how we do that at Citrix is simply different. With an active-active approach, we simply make sure that the high availability pair that you acquire from Citrix is used 100%. So this is not just about perfect redundancy and availability. This is also about making sure that when you get two boxes with a large and big performance, then you should definitely use this. So this is also a key differentiator to the classical approach that we do. And again, from tri-scale, scale out. If really one box is not enough, you can perfectly fit that into clusters. This is definitely the third out of the 3 tri-scale options, which are definitely then the case when 40 instances on an SDX are simply not enough when you want to scale out. Also here, Citrix does a perfect integration of all of its existing environments, and also here, super important, not just in a Citrix environment, but especially with everything that you do, whenever you have different data centers, and regardless if you earn your money with your data center because you're offering your products or your services through it, or if you simply want to make your own environment available to your employees so that they can do their job, GSLB is one of the key features that you want to have. And this is exactly that what our NetScaler appliance also offers as a feature, from the virtual appliance, the very smallest offer, up to the biggest one that we have, making sure that when one node dies, the other one takes over, without requiring the user to know. If I type in www.citrix.com and I just get immediately my logon to go through our Citrix receiver to my virtual desktop or to my applications, I don't need to know that it's no longer the site maybe in Riga, because this one is down for maintenance or by failure. I don't even need to know that I'm currently working on the site B, which is based here in Tallinn. I don't need to know and I don't want to know. NetScaler with GSLB is making sure that I get the resources whenever I want. I don't need to know where it is. And of course, that's one thing of GSLB. The second thing is, what's happening if you're outside your country and the latency from the place where you are to site A is super bad, while the latency to the site B is way better. So GSLB also takes care that you get the best performing connection. So it's not just about what's up and what's down. It's making sure that you get the best performing response, that it connects you to that side, which gives you the better performance because of a lesser latency time. So also these are things which are very important to consider, not just if you have a non-Citrix environment with purely web platforms or web-based applications. This is making sure that your resources are available at any time you're working with. And that's why I truly believe that Citrix has by far the best offering in place. Best offering in place, not just only feature-wise as it's fully consolidated, simply because we believe that the perfect integration of our technologies into providers like Amazon Web Services, Rackspace, all the big names in infrastructure as a service, which are making sure that when you use our technology, you're perfectly integrated into them, that you are well prepared for these kind of environments, that we make sure with this pay-as-you-grow approach that you don't have to think in packages or new boxes like you do with our competition. We truly believe that we should save your time and should save your money by keeping the footprint of the instance itself as low as possible. We do that with the physical and virtual boxes, and we do this with the virtual software, with the virtual instances, with basically software on hardware, with up to 40 virtual instances on a box, which leaves you enough room to grow, always with a minimum footprint of investment for your hardware. No other vendor is currently capable of offering something similar like our tri-scale approach, which helps you to grow with your features, but always keeping the hardware footprint to a minimum. As we all know, as you might have heard, I'm quite sure, Cisco is leaving the application delivery controller space. Cisco was, in the previous years, one of the key vendors with these kind of load balancers and with these kind of products that we have. So Cisco is actually going out of this. And the question, of course, for many Cisco customers is, hey, what's next? What's happening if Cisco is no longer supporting and selling these kind of technologies? Well, it's quite easy. Citrix and Cisco teamed up and developed a so-called ACE migration program, which actually means that our products achieve the Citrix validated design approval, which actually means Cisco is officially supporting the migration process from their own application delivery controllers towards Citrix. Making sure that for existing Cisco customers, there is a future even for their own Nexus appliances and for their own products. Making sure that compared to other vendors in this field, we give Cisco customers a future to move on with Citrix with the approval of Cisco. And that actually means that we have a scenario which Cisco is fully supporting. This is not a classical partnership where everybody hugs each other and we say, hey, we are friends, right, by marketing. This is an active program where existing Cisco customers who are having ADC appliances can smoothly migrate to a Citrix environment and can do that with the full support and the approval and the design approval of Cisco here. So the roadmap here, even here also very important. In future, and that's actually super cool, something we're announcing this week is the fact that NetScaler will also run on Cisco hardware in future. Here you can see that the collaboration is going way, way bigger than ever before. So on the existing Nexus hardware from Cisco, we will have NetScaler running. So for Cisco customer, a smooth way to migrate and being sure that you just made the right choice. And you can see that Cisco and Citrix, technology-wise, are getting closer and closer together, offering customer a real tight solution that perfectly fits into each other, right? Another thing, as already mentioned, NetScaler, even if you don't have any public clouds, one of the great drivers, of course, is to have a perfect availability of your existing XenApp or Xen desktop environments. This is exactly something that Citrix is doing, and that's why we believe, especially as latency and bandwidth requirements are becoming more and more important, the more you have in a cloud, the more and more your users need to travel WAN links. We believe NetScaler is a perfect enhancement to your existing XenApp environment to make sure that everything that you deliver from a centralized location is accelerated in a perfect motion done with Citrix NetScaler. And again, in the end, it simply doesn't matter what you do. The gap in a centralized environment always is, regardless if you have Windows-based app or desktop, if you say, no, I'm doing everything web-based or I'm doing everything with mobile applications, the gap, or what we call at Citrix the last mile to the user, is something that NetScaler covers. We protect the environment, we accelerate the connection, making sure that regardless how bad or good the link is, the user always gets a perfect user experience, not even noticing that maybe the bandwidth is not enough or that the latency is so high that it's not a really good connection. Citrix makes sure that the user never suffers under something like that. And again, the user never thinks of the link. He says, hey, my apps are slow, my desktop is slow. What we are also doing, and this is really great, another innovation of Citrix NetScaler is, and I'm quite sure you know that, the user complains about something, right? And then the discussion starts, whose fault actually it is, that it's slow, it's the servers, no, it's the connection, it's maybe the switches. So all the usual things that are happening. What we are doing, and this is also something very unique to the Citrix NetScaler technology, Citrix is announcing its Insight Center, which actually makes sure that we look at all these points. So the NetScaler Insight Manager is definitely able to do an analysis of corporate apps, as well, of course, as our own environments of XenApp and Xen Desktop. And coming back with a chart of analysis to simply let you know what's going on in your network. And that's actually a cool thing. If you see what all gets logged, ICA sessions, I can see how often are sessions in my VDI environment or terminal server environment used. It actually starts on how much data is transferred in a classical ICA session? Are people doing copy jobs, many print jobs, many whatsoever things, right? So we actually have a look inside what's coming with existing setups and desktop environments and giving you an insight, a visibility on that's what's happening to easier find out where the issue is instead of just looking for the needle in the haystack, right? So again, NetScaler scenarios with Microsoft. We have a tight integration. There you can see NetScaler is not just an addition to Citrix and desktop. Yes, it is perfectly integrated, but it doesn't mean that its sole purpose is for Citrix backend infrastructure. The NetScaler product is a unique technology which can be used in many scenarios as a replacement for the Cisco products which are expiring, or in conjunction with many Microsoft products you might have in use. Optimization, security, scalability, optimally integrated through the collaboration with Microsoft. The NetScaler is accelerating more than just VDI or Windows application. It is really accelerating and protecting all kinds of Microsoft backend infrastructure we are making sure with. And for sure, in a Citrix environment, we are making sure that there are absolutely no security bottlenecks, 100% availability, and of course, taking care of this super important last mile to the user, because you can die in beauty if your backend is perfectly working, if you have the right servers, a performing hypervisor. If this one doesn't work and your user says, oh damn, that's slow, that sucks, I don't want to work with that, these are the people who complain, and they don't care what the problem is. They want to make sure that they can work properly. And Citrix makes sure that this part, which most of you cannot control because you can't control the WAN. You can control latency. You might know what your bandwidth is that you are guaranteed, but the rest you can't control. Citrix makes sure with its technologies in NetScaler that regardless how bad or good the link is, the performance is guaranteed done through the technologies of the NetScaler, making sure that you have a high-performant, highly secured, and highly scalable environment with Citrix, regardless which kind of resource you want to provide, Citrix resources or non-Citrix resources in your environment. Ladies and gentlemen, before I come to an end, this is something you should definitely pay attention for. The Citrix distributor Arrow, which is also having a booth with us together here in the exhibition hall, is inviting you to answer a couple of questions regarding the presentation here, and the next one we're going to have about Citrix Enterprise Mobility, a very thrilling thing in the afternoon. If you are attending both presentations, you are able to answer the super easy questions that we are putting in place. You will be among those who can win an iPad mini right here at the booth, so you're not waiting for it. If you win it, if your name is taken out of the draw box, you will take it right away with you home today. So stop by, come to us, and if you would like to see the NetScaler in action, if you want to see that live, I'm inviting you as well. We have lots of demo equipment at our booth here at the exhibition hall. So thank you very much for taking the time this morning, and hope to see you in my next session, which is even more thrilling, in the afternoon about Citrix and desktop and enterprise mobility. Thank you very much.